Everybody, I would like to showcase today our MCP integration. Our DocIntel is hosted into the MCP server, so we have a public MCP endpoint now. Why did you do that? The DocIntel, this particular product offer for the connected enterprise knowledge base, right? So, and we have a lot of different processes. So, the any enterprise can connect externally via the MCP to our systems and do a lot of activities. Either they can get all the information, whatever they need, or even they can upload the documents, videos, then transcripts, right? And can run a lot of vertical domain workflows using the MCP client. That is the primary reason. Then we make it fully secured. We enabled our OAuth 2. So you see the screen, that is the Agonia Lab screen. So if you click here, the solutions, and there is a MCP integration, there's a lot of details here, right? So what I would like to showcase here is our MCP integration. This is our endpoint, right? MCP DocIntel agumuni.com.mcp, right? So this is our official endpoint. And if I, as I explained, that we have OAuth 2 enabled, right? These are all the tools. You see that a lot of MCP tools and resources that we exposed. You see there are tons of tools, a lot of resources that is being exposed, and what is basically it supports in terms of upload, video. Then we have some governance related vertical workflows, and ultimately the playground. Playground is basically we also offer an MCP client, so that anybody can, that's UI based, so anybody can come and can directly utilize as an MCP client, right? But many enterprises have their own MCP client, and they connect to many different systems. So for their integration, they can use their own MCP client as well. So, and we also offered a MCP tutorial, right? MCP tutorial is basically not the how the MCP protocol and everything works. It is based on the set that if you have to spin up an MCP client, what are the things that you need, what are the features that you can get, right? So, from the other DocIntel MCP servers, right? So those are all the different things that are explained there with the codes as well. So you can rightly utilize all of these things. Now, what I'm gonna speak before I go into the detail is how our OAuth workflow works. It is important because the secure platform is very easy. We introduced the authorization server here, right? And our authorization servers and MCP endpoints are different, right? So that's just I wanted to make sure that we are a little bit clear about that. So the way that you see that in this screen, right? So the client, usually we have an MFA enabled, and when you log into the DocIntel, so user will basically see they as an MCP client, discover MCP resources, discover OAuth server, and register MCP client. These are the first pieces that what you do. And here in the Docker authorization server, we have a lot of authorization scopes that is been defined. And when you have an email, and you can basically subscribe to some of the features. You don't necessarily, if you do not own some of the vertical workflows for vertical domains, different domain workflows, you can subscribe on your own authorization scope, and based on that, the work that you're gonna get the privilege and can get working, right? So we have the knowledge, which is basically getting the information extractions from the systems. We have a session based, like if someone wanted to interact with the chat sessions and wanted to get any information using a chat sessions. We have a workspace that has a read, write, a lot of access documents, has also a lot of access, vertical workflow has a lot of access, whatever it is that the different works. I'm gonna showcase later on. Basically, first you will do a browser login, right? Then what happens is these password and email, with the MFA, right? It checks your scopes and the consents, right? That happens internally, and then it sends it to the MCP gateway or the authorization server, right? And then MCP gateway, right? Basically, it has a public MCP token, right? That basically, you see that there is a number 6. Now, once these scopes are being identified, then basically authorization code and plus PKC, it gives you the client ID, right? So at that time the client ID gets generated, which is dynamically client ID gets generated, that gives you the access token, right? So exchange for MCP tokens. So now access token, and you have always have an options to rotate the token. Once you do that, that public MCP token is never forwarded to the DocIntel API. So MCP authorization token, these stays within the MCP workflow. API has its own tokens in place, right? So to make sure that we understand that whatever the MCP gateway handles, it stops as a part of authorization servers. Once the client ID is generated and client ID, from there is a different token that basically hits the API, typically way the workflow works, right? So now after doing these activities, right, so it goes call to the MCP tools, right, and then it validates the token, enforces user workspace scopes, right, those are basically API level scopes, right, and then it gets interacts with the knowledge base. That's the typical workflow it works. We have another fantastic workflow we have defined here. Say the how the MCP client, which is part of a sequence diagram, DocIntel MCP server or DocIntel auth server user, it connects without the token DocIntel MCP server. It keeps a protected resource metadata, then read OAuth protected resource metadata from the MCP client, authorization server locations, MCP client knows, and that time they basically connects with the authorization server, right? So now read OAuth server metadata, register authorize and token endpoints. From the authorization endpoints, now MCP client knows the authorization server right now. At that time, MCP client basically from the DocIntel, it gets a client ID, right? So the dynamic client registration, it gets a client ID. Then open authorization page with the PKC, right? It means then basically the authorizations workflow starts happening, right? Authorization page with the user, login MFA and consent, then authorization code through callback. At that time, you'll see the callback screen that comes, and that callback screen says that you are authorized with these kind of scopes, right? Then exchange code and PKC verify. Then what happens? Express and refresh tokens. Refresh tokens, you understand that certain point is valid, so it has to go the entire auth flows after some time, right? MCP request with the access token, and then authorize tools and access. This is how the entire process. This is how that OAuth2 process is set up for our DocIntel. Now I speak a lot about our entire OAuth2. So now let's go to our actual workflows. What I wanted to do is let's look at our guest setup. So this is our guest setup, right? From the guest setup, we go to the sign in, and when we sign in, it is not connected to the MCP server yet. We are connecting to the app. This is separate than what the MCP server connections are. Thus, when we connect, we have an MFA enabled, as we know, as a part of our process. So with the app, we are now giving your MFA based code. Now here you see the MCP playground, right? Here I put an MCP client as a playground to showcase basically how it works. I'm creating this, and you see there's an example, there's a lot of things. If I try to list all the tools and run it, right, it will not go around because it's not connected. What I'm trying to do, I'm now trying to connect with the OAuth. I'm giving my email ID, right, as a MCP client right now, right? So now when I'm trying to give my information, it is basically connecting to the authorization server, right? It gives a verification code. I show that it gives a verification code. So we need to put those verification code first, right, as a part of a MFA process before it goes to the authorization server giving a client ID. So now I'm giving this one. So now you see that at that time what happens, there was a screen came, right, and that screen, it basically says that your authorization is completed. It means that that time it gives a client code and all of this thing. Now if I run it now, you're gonna see that it returns the data. What did I do? I basically ask what are my tools. It gives me everything. So what we have in the MCP playground here, so you will gonna see that a lot of things. I wanted to showcase one of these items, right? For example, update chat session is one of the tools, right? What is the input schema for those tools? These are being explained. What are the descriptions? These are all of these things. These are basically whatever the MCP standards. It is following the exactly MCP standards, and basically for the tools, resources, and everything. That's how you're gonna see here. So now there are a lot of things. So for example, I can initialize the server. When I initialize the server, it comes like this. Then list all tools, I just showed list all resources. You can see the list of resources. List of resources does not show here because it needs some params. So for the params, I have one. I can show you from here. I have this one. If I run it, you're gonna see that this has a resources it mentions, right? Okay, no, not this one. I'm making a mistake. Basically, you see here method resource read, right? And params this one. This is basically how we can get a particular resource. And resource, resources, in this case the resource is um, URL DocIntel documents particular document ID, where these resources are located. It will tell you basically these are the doc metadata, and this particular location, audio GCS path, where is that, and all the details that is being stored as a part of our metadata into the systems. So this gives you everything, right? So these are the, I'm just randomly showing. Say that you want to say that get me the resource templates. You do that. Tell you that what are the different type of resource templates you have. DocIntel videos, document ID, timeline, DocIntel videos, document ID. Any of these things you can put as a part of your params, and you will be able to see the details on those resources, right? So this is how our resources you can see. Say for example, I wanted to see the workspace list of workspaces here. See, you click this one, it will show you all the different workspaces that exists. Then you wanted to list a documents, say that you wanted to mention that your workspace ID you do not wanted to mention. That's okay. If you do not mention, this would come as a null, right? And when it's a null, it means that it's basically the default or the personal workspace, or you can basically mention your own workspace by the workspace ID, and it should be good to go, right? So this is the way that you can also see all of these things. So anything that I'm not basically running anything, even you wanted to see a particular document, so you can put that. Say for example, this is one of the document ID. I'm just giving you this document ID here by copy pasting. You can see the information related to that document ID. I think one of the stuffs is missing here is this. Now you'll be able to see this one, right? So the particular get document ID. So I'm just showing you that many different things that you can do. You can even upload your things and all of these things. A lot of different things are there. This is how our playground works. Now for example, I wanted to showcase another one. Say now I'm coming to one of the screens. So we have other than the MCP client, we have a script also for the auth login we can run, right? When we run this one, it will do the same process. Why am I showing it here? Because ideally oftentimes you might wanted to do the integration by the code, or you might wanted to integrate, put it in a code. How does this works to showcase that particular features, not only from the playground, also from the script, that how it works, so that it can be used anywhere, right? So now when you did that, you see that whatever being scopes granted, everything is being mentioned. Workspace read, write, knowledge query, generate, and all of these things, right? What happens is we basically created few MCP requests, MCP tool, and tool data. These three different things for our clients, so that somebody can directly utilize these and can see many different details. Again, everything is based on the MCP protocol. We did not invent anything by our own, right? So for example, for upload.md, one of the things which basically we created for uploading, I think these things are already being as a part of our here we already have all these details, right? You can find out that's after this what is our different access policies, those are being defined. Then for the upload, as I was talking, create document upload, signed cloud upload, complete document upload. These are all of the tools that exist, right? Document discovery, many different things, whatever is being available, everything is being listed here, and also the resources, right? And in the tutorial we have many different things for the upload features. So you're gonna see whatever I've been showing you, those informations are here, right? So that's it, you're gonna able to do that. I did these authentications after doing the authentications. Say for example, I wanted to show you my token loaded or not. It's a 703 characters. So I know now it is being loaded. Now what then I need to export a file path from my local system just for uploading features. Say that I'm doing, I already put that export file path. Now what I need to do, I need to do these three things also just because I'm running it manually, right? Then I need to do the workspace ID also. When I'm putting nothing as a workspace ID, it means that it takes the default, which is your personal workspace. Now, say for example, you wanted to do a request a sign upload URL. You are doing that, it is giving you a sign upload URL. There is a command for that. I'm not going into all those details. This give you the Google storage signed URL. You got the signed URL, it is active for some time, and within that you can basically kick off your upload process. I'm clicking this one. While clicking this one, what happens is it is basically create a upload session for you, right? Now what I can do, I can run this to make sure that I can see those document IDs which was there, storage path, upload URL path, everything. Now once we did do with all of this, right? So I'm doing upload directly to the cloud storage. Now this is the way we can also do the upload. Then I wanted to make sure the data gets stored into the database, right? If I click this one, what would gonna happen is it would gonna tell you whether this, how do I know that everything is happening? I'm just telling you what I need to showcase you from here what happened, right? Let's see what happened. You see that there is some chunking process is going on. It means document is already uploaded, right? And that's why this particular file, that's what I loaded initially, is in the process of chunking right now. And you see that chunking is completed. If you wanted to see, this is the document what we uploaded just now, right? And we kicked off from our MCP client. Now here is a option for monitor the chunking, which is already completed by the time we have been talking about, right? And you can see the progress here, the chunking status, right? Check chunking status. Then I create a function, and then I'm basically running that function to see, and it says that status chunked, right? Status chunks, it's already been completed. Then review generated chunks. Now you wanted to see the chunks, review generated chunks. This is the way you can see with the generated chunks, right? So this is what your chunks look like. Now what you can do, you see that there is an option for embedding here. You can whatever this embed button does, you can kick off from here also, right? Which is your MCP client, one of the tools, right? That tools params name is embed document, right? And whatever the document ID you are mentioning, based on that it would gonna do that, right? So this is the part of a MCP request I'm running, which says the embedding started, right? Now you can do embedding, check check document status. It will tell you that what stage it is. It will tell you now the embedding state, right? And if you go now here, if you refresh this one, you see that this is saying that this is the embedding state, right? So now it's so that this is in the embedding state. Once it's finished embedding, right, you can always check. You can run again document status. It is that now it says the embedded. Now if you come, if you see that this is embedded, because it's an embedded, you can ask some questions from this document itself, right? So it means usually what you do, you go to the chat sessions and ask any questions here. Same questions you can ask here basically, right? So you ask this question, that you'll see that what is the question, summarize the import facts, risk and next actions, right, for this particular document. So what it is doing, it fires through the and then it gets to the LLM, and you get a nice fantastic response. So now this is not a part of any sessions, right? So there is no session here, that's by which you get this one, right? So that's where you may not be able to see what's happens. So that but if you create your own session, right, create a chat session, there is a separate option for the chat session, then basically you can come and see the information here also, right? This is a part of your chat session. Right now it is not been done that way, so that you do not see the chat session, but we have a different option for the chat. I can quickly show you. That's where it is. What documents? upload, summarize, Q&A. Q&A is basically as a part of a persistent chat session. How do you create and how do you all of this? I'm not going through all these details right now for the sake of the time. What I wanted to showcase is how does this workflow work. And now at the end, you wanted to clean up, you wanted to delete the document, and all of these things are because we did the testing. You can do that, and that would gonna delete your document, because I mentioned parameter is the delete equal to delete document. Now you wanted to see this, right? From here you don't see that document anymore, right? So hope this explains basically how our MCP different workflow works. I showed you very simple items. We have all the features that is currently available in the our DocIntels, all the vertical workflows and video processing, and then healthcare workflows, lease managements, finance and tax planning, and we have a lot of different things that we are offering right now as a part of the DocIntel, right? And everything is getting supported here for all the workflows, right? So all the industry workflows, you see the list vertical workflow, start vertical workflow, everything is getting supported. So also we are bringing more MCP endpoint for more tools and resources. I think right now around 60-70 tools, those exist, and it's gonna grow because we are offering giving all the client, all the enterprise to have all the flexibilities, so that on top of utilizing our DocIntel end-to-end stack, they have an MCP integrations in place, and they can also integrate with many other different systems. Hope you enjoyed this video, and see you in the next time. Thank you. Bye.